Okay, welcome to Healing Now. This is where I pretty much come onto Facebook Live, put myself out there, as we all need to do at times, as in go into the zone of discomfort, feel that little bit of fear. I've been on and off with social media. I'm very conflicted with it, to be honest, because it can be a portal that can certainly drag you away from life. And I was reminded of that today. Dear friend reached out and said, how are you doing? And I said, I'm good. Yeah. Had a bit of a struggle of recent, which was just so rewarding. The other side of the struggle, um, I'm so grateful for. Um, but he had this realization around, how much activity he noticed people, how much activity is spent on social media is quite a good indicator of where someone is at mentally. So if you're, doom scrolling or you're appearing up quite a bit, I agreed with him. When you spend a lot of time in this zone of social media, and that can certainly pull you away from life. And that's what I want to start to talk about today. And anyone that comes on uh, through Facebook is most welcome to join and have a chat about it. We um, we live in a very complex world, yeah, and it is complexity that takes us away, obviously, from simplicity. If you look into it for yourself, life is actually very, very simple. We can look at the cycles of life. Very, very simple. You're born, you live, and you die. It's such a simple structure there. And there seems to be cycles and patterns within that. And again, if we look at them, watch them, they're very, very simple. The tide comes in, the tide goes out, the sun rises and sets, the moon has its cycles. And so life is innately simple. And when it comes to healing, I see this in the spiritual community quite a bit, where what gets offered half the time is a whole lot of complexity. And um, I get great results as a healer with people, and I can't heal anybody. All healing is self-healing. What I can do is help to create an environment that is conducive to healing. But I really try to keep it simple, and it's so interesting because as a mystic is as simple as you can get, but the mystic will blow your mind away because what you've been offered by the world is a whole lot of complexity. The world wants you to be stuck in the cycles of complexity, questioning yourself and all of that. And in fact, seeing life as a problem to be solved. My master Osho said, life is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery to be experienced. And I don't think there's anything as true as that. When I understand life as a mystery to be experienced and not trying to solve its problems all the time, I begin to relax into existence. And then I know existence. I know that which is. I know life because life only happens now. It doesn't happen later. But if you look at how we go into the complexity of our stories, our traumas, our difficulties, I'm not saying that they're not there, but we can have a trauma or a sadness or an event that happens in our life. And then we've been taught to build complexity around it, to make it, and it's the complexity that makes it very, very difficult to find ourselves again, to find our inner peace, our inner core. I often talk about the finding the needle in the haystack. The needle in the haystack, the point is you. You are the needle. We're going through life trying to seek and trying to find, but that which you are searching for is the seeker itself. Now, with the needle in the haystack analogy, when people say it's like trying to find a needle in the haystack, well, the needle of its size is actually, it's pretty heavy compared um, t- to the hay. And so, how would you find the needle in the haystack? Start removing the hay. Start removing the complexity. It's the idea of all this jumbled up hay that has hidden the needle in the haystack. But if you pick up a clump at a time, just a small clump at a time, and give it a shake, if the needle's in that handful of of hay, well, then the needle should just drop out. So really trying to find a needle in the haystack is not that difficult if you actually begin to remove the hay. And this is very much the same when it comes to our lives. and the complexity that we build around us because of our conditioning and programming to, protect us from our hurts, our pains, our traumas. It is not that we need more in life. It is in fact that we need less. And when we have less, and people need to go on this journey for themselves of, accumulating and accumulating and accumulating. And it's not until people get to their deathbed that, they're not impressed with themselves by how much they have. They are more contemplative about who they were, about themselves. They are the point. They are the needle in the haystack. And for so many people, I feel there's probably a regret when they get to the end of their life and they've accumulated all this hay, but they can't see the needle in the haystack. They can't find themselves within all of that complexity. Complexity is a distraction from the self. The self is one and simple. Healing is actually very, very simple. What is healing? Healing is balance. It's integrated. Healing is when you are in that state of peace, knowing that as you live, you are dying, but you're at peace with that. And when you're at peace with that, you can begin to relax into the existence that you are right now. Because in this moment, come with me on this, in this moment right now, what's the problem? Okay, now, what I mean by that, in this now moment, if you're truly here and now, there is no problem. The only way that you'll say that there's a problem is you're going to have to go into the past, and it could be the past of only 3 minutes ago, and your problem would be there. But when you land right now, there are no problems here right now. There's just this. Because as you land in the present moment, you go into full acceptance. Acceptance is the only thing that will allow you to begin to open the door to move into healing. Okay, and this is something I teach to my clients, my aspirants, but it's so interesting to see how many people get resistant when I say acceptance is the only way forward. You're going to need to accept. Now, here's something to consider. When you accept life as it is right now, it doesn't mean you're going to have to accept this is the way it's going to be. A practice that I give to people is I say to people, when you're going through a difficulty, say to yourself, this is fine for now. Okay, it's a really powerful statement. This is fine for now. And you keep saying that to yourself, because what that insists to the subconscious mind is that it's not going to remain like this. It's not going to stay that way. Your subconscious mind understands that when you say, this is fine for now. If someone says, hey, where would you like me to put this package? You say, oh, just down there is fine for now. Why do you say that? Because it's going to move from that spot. But right in this now moment, just down there is fine. Okay, so you'll have events happen in your life and you're able to say to yourself, this is fine for now, knowing it's not going to remain. In fact, the wisdom of life absolutely insists to us that nothing remains. The only thing that never changes in your whole life is your awareness, is that which is witness of your life. That is actually you. You are the witness. Ever since you landed on this planet, you have been aware. You've been having an experience. Even though I know it sounds very strange, even when you're not aware that you're aware, awareness is still there. It doesn't go anywhere. In fact, try and get rid of your awareness. Now, what does awareness do? What does consciousness do? It doesn't do anything. It's just conscious. It's just aware. This life that we call existence, well, we begin to make some simplicity out of that now. Existence, the word existence means to stand out. Then the question is, stand out from what? Well, existence stands out from reality. When we talk about reality as we see it, that's not reality, it's existence. And many people wouldn't probably know that there's a difference between reality and existence. Reality is the case, that which is real. Now, we only actually perceive 0.0035% of the visual spectrum. So we don't see reality. We don't perceive all of reality. This human spacesuit that we're in, it is a container of sensing. So when we are sensing, we have this interface that only allows us to interact with a small, just a minority of the spectrum of what could be sensed. So we know our visual spectrum, very, very, very small. Our touch spectrum, these creatures out there that have a far greater sense of sensitivity to touch. There are creatures out there that have a greater sensitivity or a different placement on the frequency band of sound. Now we know that. And so really these bodies that we are in are like a filtering system that only allows us to experience this existence. Now it's no coincidence that those two words are existence and experience. Existence, experience, the first part of that word comes from the same word as exit, to go out. And that's what I was saying before. Um, Existence stands out from reality. So what we sense is what we call is called existence. What we sense, what we experience is existence because it stands out from the full, the totality of reality. Okay, so we only actually perceive a part of reality, and we call that existence. That is our experience. And that's what we've come to have is a human experience. It's only allowing a certain stream of the senses, a certain stream of reality to be sensed. And we know that within existence, there's this experience we call it life, but life is actually the case. Death is not the opposite of life. Birth is. So when we're born and when we die, they're literally two sides of the one coin. So even look at it as a child when they are born, they die to the womb. They leave one dimension and move into the next simultaneously in one moment. They go from being in one dimension of being inside the womb into a new dimension of being in the outside of the womb, in this world as we know it, in this existence. So again, a baby comes into existence because they stand out from what? Well, they come out from the womb. They die from the womb and they die to the womb and come into the world. And so existence is just that which stands out from reality. Death is the opposite of birth. Death is not the opposite of life. Life is the case. Life always goes on. Everything is vibrational, is a form of frequency or vibration or energy. And what we're experiencing is that which stands out from the ultimate totality. Now, to bring it back to what I was talking about, healing being very simple, I have this saying that I share with many of my clients, which is, and I can't remember where I heard this from, but I heard it from someone. I thought this is so spot on. It's very simple to be happy. It's just very difficult to be simple. And that's so very true if you think about it. Like being happy, when you're happy, if you look at it, you'll notice that life is really simple. It's in flow. It's just happening. And there's joy. When you're not so happy, when there's sadness or anger or any of the other sort of lower vibrational emotions, what tends to be going on there is a whole lot of complexity. It's the complexity that throws us off our peace because peace is very, very simple. Okay, it's still, it's patient, it's present. But what throws us is complexity. And so the reason I throw this out is that when it comes to your healing journey, if you're working with someone that's building a lot of complexity around healing, I would like to insist they're not taking you down the healing journey at all. In fact, it's very, very difficult to catch the drift of many gurus or healers or whatever out there, sometimes because they're so simple. I have clients all the time say, "Oh my God, it's so simple, right?" And it's like, yeah, that's the path of healing. The path of healing is simple. If it's complex, it's of the world. And so when they say, to be in the world but not of the world, is be simple in a world of complexity. Be simple. As I said before, remind yourself, it's very simple to be happy. It's just very difficult to be simple. Same with healing. Okay. Healing is simple. Dis-ease is complexity. Think about it. Dis-ease. There's no ease there. Why is there no ease there? There's too much complexity. Back to what I said earlier on, there's too much hay to be able to find the needle. Well, remove the hay. Don't go looking for the needle. Just remove the complexity. And so when I take people on the bioenergetic reset, which is it's probably complex in its structure, how it's done. If someone watched it and said, oh, that would take a lot of effort to do. It does take a lot of effort to learn and do. But for the one that is going through the healing, it's very simple. Just lie there. And I say to them, let go and follow the frequencies. Let the frequencies take you somewhere. These beautiful solfeggio frequencies. Let the shamanic drum take you on a journey. And what happens is people always, at the end of the healing, at the end of the session, go, wow, I've never felt so peaceful and calm. That is where healing happens. You see, if you are physically, mentally, emotionally calm, balanced, and present, just feeling at peace, your body is healing itself. When there's too much complexity going on, how can the body heal? That's why, fasting works so well for people that are on the healing journey. Trying to heal their body physically. If they have inflammation going on, the best thing they can do is not eat for a while. Why is that? Because now you're taking a part of the complexity of the human anatomy off the table where there's no digestion going on. And so you go and digestion is the activity that burns up the most energy. It requires the most energy of the human anatomy. But if you're not eating and you are fasting, then the body turns its attention to other things and it will begin to bring itself back into homeostasis. It will begin to heal. Again, if you're feasting on too much knowledge or scrolling or even just this activity into the mind, if you're feasting on too much of that, it's too much complexity. You're not going to be at ease. You're overfeeding the subconscious mind with all sorts of information. And so that's why meditation can be a path of healing. Just simply sitting and being. As I said in one of my other podcasts, when people ask me, well, how do I meditate? I say, well, you just sit there. And then they go, well, and then what? And I say, see, you can't help yourself. You simply just sit there. And don't go down the rabbit hole of your thoughts. Don't go down the rabbit hole of the mind because it's been so heavily programmed. It's been so heavily dominated by the societal structure. You see, you can't see the needle, the needle that's in the haystack. You can't find that. There's too much minutia there. There's too much piled on top of who you are. You are the point. If people say, I want to know what my purpose is, I say to them, forget about it. You don't have a purpose. You are purposeful. Okay, you're the point. It's all there for you. But when we start looking at others and comparing and complaining and then talking about our story, the story will always drag you back into the past. And now you're going back into complexity. I mean, you would know this, how draining it can be when you share your story. Now, I always say, share your story if it's for entertainment value or to inspire others. Absolutely share your story. Don't let it go to waste in that manner. But don't dwell upon it where it takes your peace away. So here I am today insisting that healing is it is an act of simplicity. So I've been saying to my clients of recent, if you look at it, God, when we talk about God, and some people like to call it the universe or source or whatever it is, that higher power, the Tao, the way. How simple is God? Well, let's break it down a little bit. If God is eternal, and God would have to be eternal in order for God to be God, God would have to be that which is above all things, over and above the ultimate, and God would have to be eternal. It would have had to have always been there. So we'd have to agree that God would be eternal, and there can be only one eternity, right? If there were numerous eternities, none of them would be eternal because it doesn't. There would be one eternity, right? And so God is one. And that's spoken of in the scriptures, and not just the Christian scriptures, but in many writings, sacred writings. God is one. Well, how simple is one? Yeah, it's as simple as it gets. Therefore, how simple is God? As simple as it gets. There's nothing more simple than God. Now, I'm not insulting God here, because if you think about how difficult do you find it to be simple, to keep your life simple? It's the most difficult thing to do. That's why meditating is so difficult to do. To simply stop, sit, and be. That's so hard for the dominator culture programmed mind. That's what we've all been programmed by, is the dominator culture. Like, go out and achieve and make and compete and beat and take and steal and all of that. All about having more than the other, or trying to show the other up. Try this up one mint in life. And then the comparison, we go comparing ourselves to others, which is just the worst form of self-violence. You are you, and that's all you need to be. You don't need to be anything else other than yourself. Therefore, when we look at it, God being one, which means, and we know that one is as simple as it gets. God is the most simple. That gives us a clue that really, if there was healing that could be had, it would all come by the hands of God, surely. But I insist that it all comes by the hands of being simple. You may not get your healing or you feel directly from God, I don't know, but the more simple you become, the more simple you become, the closer to healing you draw. If you look at, as I said before, the stories, we have a trauma, we have an experience, we have our past, and we open it up. And each time we almost add a little bit extra to it. And we really insist that people need to hear the story. Well, for some of us don't want to go into the story, but we're going into the story within ourselves and beating ourselves and reminding ourselves of the story each time. Look at the complexity of what the mind has to do to go in these cycles of bringing itself out of balance and losing its peace. Peace is simply being simple. It's being still. It's letting go, accepting. The hardest thing for most people to do is simply accept. The hardest thing to do for many people is to let go. And it's really, really interesting because for some of my clients, they will be saying, oh, I'm trying to let go. And I'll say, well, here's the problem. You see, you're trying to let go is the problem. This is trying to let go. I have the pen here. I'm trying to let it go. Notice how I'm trying to let go? Because if I actually let go, there it goes. Actually letting go is just letting go. It's that simple. But notice how people will go into that complexity. Well, how do I let go? Your question is implying that it's complex, whereas it's self-explanatory. Let go. And then we'll insist to ourselves, well, it's just not that easy to let go. Well, now you're going into self-hypnosis. That's called auto-hypnosis, where you are now hypnotizing yourself into a belief system. And so a lot of what needs to be done for many of us is an undoing, is a removing of the hay, a removing of the complexity, which is these self-limiting beliefs. But actually all belief systems, I insist, need to be let go of. The only thing that requires belief is fiction. And fiction is not true. There's only one truth. Okay, and no one's put their finger on it yet, because we're still arguing about what the truth is. Just there you go. And what's the arguing? It's creating more complexity. So in order for us to go into healing, and I truly, I've seen this happen when people go back into the simple aspects of life, just being simple, they feel calmer, they balance out, they center, and then the body gets a chance to heal. Also, the idea that we insist that we should heal, like physically, if there is something that is nearing us to the grave, and we say it shouldn't be like this. Again, that's a complexity that we're bringing in. How do we know what anything is to be like? No one actually knows what's going on here. Everyone likes to hypothesize, but really, no one knows what's going on. And that's the only thing that we know. We can all agree on what's going on here. I mean, you go into religion and politics and all of that, and it's all nonsense. It's all, again, complexity hiding the point. You're the point. My daughter said to me one time, she asked me, she said, what does God look like? I said, go have a look in the mirror. Because that's far truer for me to say, because how can I know? But if you go look in the mirror, you realize that the only thing I can look at is the thing that's having the experience of this life. And that has to be the closest thing to whatever it is that's created all of this or started this. We didn't start the fire, but we can begin to look into the eyes, the flames that are within us and see ourselves. Again, it's about simplicity, coming back to being simple. That's where healing begins. And that's why I love, yeah, I can sit people in front of me and we can sit there and start solving problems. But you see, that's what the world wants you to do. The world wants you, as I said before, people go, what's my purpose? I say, let go of it. You're purposeful. You don't have a purpose. The world wants you to just have, to be a one-shot pony. But when you are available to life, look at it, you have more than one purpose. You can love, you can sing, you can play, you can dance. It goes on and on and on. And it doesn't have to be about your vocation or your work. You look at how we regard each other. This is kind of violent in a way because what do you do? Like, that's the most important thing. I've said to people before, actually on a podcast back a couple of podcasts ago, imagine if we said to each other, what are you? That would be getting closer to the truth, right? First, we really need to know what we are before we know who we are. What we are as aware, what we are as present, and what we are as conscious. And then the doing is all on top of that. Coming back to simple things is the path home, is the path to healing. You look at the story of Jesus. Now, I've had people say to me, do you still believe in all that Jesus rubbish and all that sort of thing? I say to them, well, no, I don't believe it. There's these aspects of these scriptures. I read it and I know it. I feel like I know this makes absolute sense to me. I don't believe it. I know it. Some of it, I'll simply have to take the word for it if I want to go down that track, but I don't even do that. It made sense to me that really Jesus did very, very simple things, to help people heal. This myth or this person or this figure would say, get up and walk. Well, that kind of makes sense. How simple was that? It was get up and walk. He was commanding them to do something. They had to go beyond. What he was doing was getting them to go beyond their own limiting belief system. I can't walk. And he must have had this vibration, this frequency of just where you were so convinced that he was convinced you could walk. In fact, how many times do we see that in life? We see it with our children. You give them enough encouragement. In your head, I know you can. You don't say to them, I believe you can do it. And often we say that, but really what we're saying is, I know you can do it. You can do this. And you say that to them, and then the child pushes through and they surprise themselves. And it's a wonderful moment of celebration. Again, keeping it very simple. When someone says, I know you can do this, man, that's called encouraging someone. That's putting courage into another person. The word courage means of the heart. So you're taking them away from the mind and bringing them into the heart. That's where the power is. The heart is a powerful force. The mind is complex, right? The heart is simple. Think about it. The heart is so, so simple. It's just present. Do you hear your heart chatting away at you or trying to convince you to do anything? No, it just is. You see, the heart is synonymous with eternity and the mind is synonymous with time. You see, no mind, no time. There can't be time without mind. Mind insists, time insists that there needs to be mind in order for time to be there, but heart is eternal. It's not concerned with time. Heart is present, always present. You feel someone's heart when they're present, but it's very difficult to feel someone's heart when they're in the story. Why? Because the story is the past and a projection of the future. Again, as soon as you go into complexity, you're in the mind, but it is the heart that heals. You see many of those photos of Christ holding, hand on the heart and the this kind of mudra pose of peace. It's here. And you look in the Jewish culture, the word shalom, peace be with you. It's keeping it really, getting to the simplicity, getting to the foundations. Peace is where healing starts. And peace, if you look at it, is simple. It's non-movement, it's non-activity. But we, as human beings, heavily conditioned, find it very difficult to be at peace, to be at one, to be in balance, centered. We find that difficult because we're so used to complexity. That's going to happen after 13 years of being at school and being heavily brainwashed. So like I said before, healing is actually coming back to simplicity. I've found this for myself. Even just of recent, I was kicking off and having a meltdown about all sorts of things. I'm a stepfather to 3 young children that are not like myself or my 2 paternal children. They're very epic. They're full on energy. They're intense. They can be rude, quite unconscious at times. And what I was allowing myself to do was to go into frustration because they weren't being how I would like to see them to be. But then when I go into acceptance, surrender, and let go, it's interesting what happens. I came into my power again because I had peace no matter what. And staying in my firmness, there was no, and keeping my boundaries and emanating love unconditionally, letting it continue to flow out of me without condition, but keeping my boundaries there, as I always say to clients that need to hear this, my love is unconditional, but my boundaries are not. It's a great mantra to keep for yourself. Your boundaries insist the level of intimacy that you have with people, but your love goes out constantly, all the time. And by allowing myself to remain in that frequency of unconditional love, but just being firm in my boundaries, I don't need to raise my voice or get angry or frustrated or any of that. And it's up to the individuals I'm working with, these children in my life. They do really respect me. And I get great responses from them, especially now that I've found my center. And they've helped me heal an aspect of myself, which I still had this controlling nature, which is complex. Again, it's very complex to control things. I was trying to control these children. But then when I let go, I allow myself to see and accept, let go and surrender, then the peace is already there. I'm already at peace. I don't need them to settle down or do something for me to then find my peace. I'm already at peace. And then they begin to start resonating on that frequency too. Keeping it really simple, right? If I'm after an outcome, that's complex. But if I'm already accepting of the now moment, there's no complexity in that. It's as simple as it gets. So just to summarize for today's transmission, this is an encouragement for you to keep it simple, especially as you go into your healing journey. keeping your healing journey simple. Find someone that helps you to keep it simple. Find a healer that helps to reframe life for you, where you can find the simplicity again, where you can see that the most important thing is you. The most important thing in your life is yourself. Oh my God, how simple is that, right? It's not getting the new car or the new house or the girl or the boy or whatever. All of that's complexity. They're add-ons. When you can be fully present to the power that is God, when you can be fully present to the power that is now, then simplicity is there, healing is there. Healing is in the simplicity, not the complexity. Never in the complexity. I'm always cautious of healers that start rattling off all these complexities. It just doesn't make any sense, because they lose you in the minutiae of their words, of their knowledge. These gurus that love to sort of expound their knowledge. I know this and I know that. That the only thing that's worth knowing is this right now. I always say to my clients, this is the most important moment in your life. There'll never be a moment more important than this, because when you're here, when you're in this, you're always present. You will always be present, and this will always be the most important moment. And therefore, there's no expectation that there should be excitement or joy, or you are just accepting. It is what it is. Thank you, Susie. Enjoyed listening to your wisdom. Thank you. Thank you for your encouragement. I'm pretty much just putting myself out there. At times, people will come in and sit with me. We have great transmission and good fun. But this gives me a chance to share these things that I've learnt in a manner that is, just get it out there and free. And then when people come in for the healing session, I can just plonk them straight on the table. And what I do is I do the healing work with sound frequency, solfeggio frequencies, and the shamanic drum, and a few other tools that I bring in, because frequency doesn't lie. Words can lie. And I want to insist, never trust anything that I say. Know it for yourself. That's the most important thing. Know if there's anything I say and it kind of resonates you, know it for yourself. Find out for yourself. Don't just go with anything I say. I'm just myself. I know my truth. You know your truth, and let it be your truth. But remain open, open to new ideas, open to new pathways, that you may travel that in your own simplicity and find out for yourself, just as simply as turning up to the shoreline and seeing that sun rising over the horizon. It's simple. You just need to turn up, just be there and experience. That's how simple life is. That's how simple God is. Remember, at church, people would say, because I was a worship leader in the church for 13 years. I remember this one woman said to me, my God, the worship was so amazing this morning. Thank you so much. I really felt the presence of God. And I remember saying to her, well, give yourself a pat on the back. God is presence. You became present to presence. Okay, we don't need to wait for God to turn up. God is. God is the only reality. Whatever it is, that ultimate oneness, that ultimate conscious, that presence, that ultimate presence, that is one. It can't go anywhere. We are that complexity on the edge of the raw shot block. That as Alan Watts said, you throw a jar of ink at the wall, there'll be in the middle a big splotch of black ink. But then as you go further out from the center, it starts getting complex, and there's all these designs and little bits and pieces. We're like those we are that complexity. We're out on the edge, but we only need to look in, and we're back at the center, where it's so simple. It is simple on the inside, and it's complex on the outside. And there's the balance. May you find your simplicity. May you find your peace. May you find your healing, the healing that you are. Sending you all my love. Let there be light.